All I gotta say is thank you, Jesus. We get custom matchmaking in PvP. For anyone who watched my last video or missed it, we covered all the new details of what's coming to Overworld in PB3. Well, now it's PvP's turn. As with the Overworld, I got to sit down with an exclusive chat with TSG to talk about what exactly everyone can expect with the much anticipated release of Illuvium's PvP. Now, for anyone new to the game or the Illuvium universe, Illuvium's PvP arena is essentially TFT's bastard son, a strategic auto-battler featuring iconic alluvial characters, and the goal? To build a team strong enough to make you the last player standing. Now, will the bastard son take on the title of King of the Auto Battlers? Really? Only time will tell. But before we dive too deep into all the good stuff, please remember that as annoying as it might be, everything here is subject to change prior to the PB3 release. It's a work in progress project, so expect changes. But once PB3 does drop, your journey to domination is going to start with Illuvium's Team Builder. Now, because we are just in the beta, the Team Builder at this time will be hosted on the Illuvium's website. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you view things, we will not be experiencing the full gameplay loop in PB3. So, Illuvials caught in the Overworld, no matter how amazing the stats are, will not be usable in the arena yet. But on the bright side, you don't have to catch your alluvials before being able to play with them. So when you head into the Team Builder, you are going to have well over 100 unique alluvials to choose from, not to mention a vast variety of weapons, armor, and augments. And that's not even the best part in my opinion. They've also given you every variation of alluvial when it comes down to dominant affinity. So in cases where you have a Melora that is a composite affinity of Bloom, you'll be able to add either a Melora that has a dominant affinity of Earth or one that has a dominant affinity of Nature to your deck, which will come in handy when choosing your weapons as well, so you're making the most out of your possible team comps. Now, while perusing your options in the V1 of the Team Builder, you will have your standard filter options like affinity and class and by mastery points, as well as filtering by tier and stage. While it can be tempting to want to add everything to your deck, you are limited to a maximum of 30 cards. Also, not that I would expect someone to want more or less than these limits, but you are limited to a maximum of 7 armors, a maximum of 7 weapons, and a minimum of 5 alluvials, while the number of augments you have in your deck is unlimited. As fun as it can be crafting your deck, they do limit the fun a little bit in that we can't have duplicate alluvials. So, as much as I would like to, I'm not going to be walking into my first match with an army of Kukas. Once you have your team, you are ready to head into the arena and battle your way through the ranks. Now, similar to TFT, Illuvium is going to have an ELO ranking system. You'll enter into the game queue and be matched with people who have a similar rank as yourself. Here, we have some leaks from Grant, showing us that players will start off in Iron 1, working their way through 3 stages of Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, Hollow, and Dark Hollow, until they finally reach the pinnacle of success, Obelisk. Now, unfortunately, from what I've heard, we will not have a public leaderboard to see exactly where we rank in relation to one another. We will have access to our own ELO rankings, though. Keep your fingers crossed that we get a public leaderboard soon, because what's better than competition? But when you are ready to test your skills, there are going to be 3 game modes available to play. There will be a casual mode where you won't be risking your rank, Ascendant mode where you are playing Illuvium's competitive PvP scene, and finally, custom matchmaking. I am especially excited for custom matchmaking because honestly, this was not a feature that was supposed to be in the initial release of PvP. But now that it is, absolutely everyone is looking forward to it. Not only because you'll be able to play whoever you want, whenever you want, so long as they're around to input the match code, but because this will make Illuvium PvP tournaments infinitely easier to host. And let me tell you, there are a lot of guilds and creators who are already planning PvP tournaments with, of course, fabulous prizes. Now, when you head in to play a game, if you don't have a deck built, no worries. You can either play the rotational deck that is currently available, or there will be a link in the game client that will take you to the Team Builder on the Illuvium site. I was curious about possible delays. Pretty much, how long after you build a deck will it take to show up in the game client, and I was pleasantly surprised that it's fairly instantaneous. So for those who don't have a team build or like to change things on the fly, should be an easy thing to do. Once you've matched with an opponent, you're going to have about 45 seconds at the start of the round to get situated. You can spend this time placing alluvials, equipping augments, or browsing your opponent's deck to get an idea of what could be coming your way. After the time runs out, your opponent's side of the field will be revealed and the alluvials will battle it out. You start off the round with a certain number of mastery points. Placing an alluvial costs you points. Placing armor, weapons, or augments will also cost you points out of this pool of mastery points. The amount of mastery points that you have left on the board at the end of the round will be the amount of damage dealt to your opponent. So if you've only placed an atlas that costs 30 mastery points and you win, you'll be dealing 30 damage to your opponent. Pretty much the harder you win, the more damage you'll deal to your opponent. From what we can tell from recent leaks, each player will start with 1,000 points, and first to go negative will lose. Now, periodically in between rounds, players will have opportunities to bid on legendary augments. 4 augments will pop up on your screen, and each player will have 4 tokens each to bid on which legendary augments they would like. You can bid anywhere from 1 to 4 on each of the augments, so if there is one particular legendary augment that you just can't do without, you could place all 4 of your tokens on that one. Now, here's the kicker. If you have the most tokens on an augment, you win. However, if you tie, then neither side gets that augment. So while you might try to scoop up a juicy augment by placing all 4 of your tokens on one, there's nothing stopping your opponent from doing the same. No one knows what exactly these legendary augments will be capable of, but it has been hinted that some might allow you to give an alluvial another affinity or class. Or there could be another augment that rains fireballs down on the opposing team. Honestly, the possibilities are endless, and if the Illuvium team has proven anything these last few years, it is their creativity. As with any auto battler, the changes you make to your board in between rounds is really what makes the difference between victory and defeat. During the planning phases, you will be able to see where your opponent's alluvials last were, but not where they might be in the next battle phase. And if you want to move an alluvial on your board from one location to another, it's going to cost you somewhere between 10 to 20% of the alluvial's initial cost in mastery points in order to do so. As limiting as that might be, depending on how greedy you are with your mastery point usage, the silver lining is that moving your ranger around doesn't cost you a thing. You can sell and buy armor and weapons for your ranger so long as the item is in your deck, as well as change up which alluvial they're bonded to. That means that mid-match you could drastically shift your synergies from one mainly of, say, toxic to one of magma simply by adjusting your ranger's equipment and bonds. With all the alpha dropping from the team, it's going to be really interesting to see an uptick in theory crafting once more, and even more interesting to see which plans work out and which just burn to dust. In the next few weeks, I'll be streaming, dusting off my arena skills, because let's be honest, who really wants to see their name at the bottom of the ELO rankings? So, if you want to hang or just want to stay on top of the latest Illuvium info, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, hopefully soon, I'll see you on the PvP battlefield.